everyone, this is Brittany here with your art fill of the week, and this week I'll be showing you how to do two different faux finishes. For wood grain, which I marked my canvas and split it into for the two faux finishes we're doing today, you need brown, a middle color brown, and this is a tan, but like a lighter color brown. And if you only have a dark brown, you just need white to create the different values of color. Want a larger paintbrush based on how big your canvas is, obviously. And we're gonna take our dark and they're called bacon strips, which is kind of how they look at the end, but you're gonna spread a line of each, the dark and the medium brown. Basically you can, especially if you got a lot of color on your brush, you can go ahead and just do the next streak. Your medium is going to go in between these two. Fill in all the white that you can, or if you're doing this on a different base color, you gotta cover as much as you can. And I'm gonna do that next strip. See how it kind of looks like bacon a little bit? Now we're gonna try to seamlessly blend those a little bit into each other. And now that layer needs to dry before we do anything else. Okay, now when it's completely dry, you're gonna take your lightest color. So you have your light color. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can freehand lines, or I like to get kind of more of a frayed paintbrush, and this is called dry brushing. So you're going to just dab a little bit on the ends of your brush. So no water in your brush, you're just dipping the ends, and you're gonna take your brush, go to the edge, and very, very lightly, you're dragging it across. You actually need to break this up a little bit. Dragging it across. And you can leave, like I have a little space right there, and that's fine. We're gonna leave that because we're gonna have a darker shade going in, and that can be where we have like a little wood knot in there. And then the other way I said you could freehand with just, if you don't have like a frayed brush or something, and you can just, if you need a ruler sometimes helps if you want a very straight line, but it shouldn't matter. And then you're just going to draw a little wood grain line across. And it's almost better if it's not straight. I'll do another one just to show you. Now I prefer this because it looks a little better. I'm gonna do another dry brush. Going to be doing the same dry brushing. You want to rinse off the other paint, but also get rid of all the water in that same brush if you're going to be using the same brush like I am. So I want to make sure it's as dry for the dry brushing as possible. And now actually you can either use black or your dark brown again. I'll do the one line method. Then you're going to do basically the same thing, just with a darker brown. You can use this dark to enhance any areas that I think could be a knot. So like right here, I could make this a little bit darker. Maybe even same down here. Little spots that could be like a knot. If you want more of a fancier, like pristine wood that doesn't have any knots, then you wouldn't be adding any knots into it. You just be having the straight line wood grain in there. Okay, the darker dry brush. So that's our wood grain portion, and we are going to move on to the marble portion. So for my marble, I am going to do like a grayish marble. I'll put a little image on the screen to show you kind of my reference for what I kind of wanted it to look like. But I'm going to be using white and then probably reusing some of my tan that I already have out, and black. Okay, so I have my black, my white, my tan, and I'm gonna mix it into a gray here and then be using the gray and the white on this first layer. So first we're gonna plop down that gray. And you want to keep this as wet as possible to blend together. Take some white in between, and it's called scumbling. We're basically mixing those together. To get that kind of marbleized texture. Get some more white. And we're just doing gray, then white, then gray, then mixing it together to keep it from drying on us too quickly. Some white, then right here. We got some black in there on accident, but that's okay. If you see this very white portion right here, you can kind of leave that for when we do our veining later. You kind of have to work pretty quickly because you want to blend them as seamlessly as possible. Get more of that very dark in there. You kind of want to try and do circular motions. That's where we're going to stop and let it dry. Okay, next I'm going to go in and highlight some of the areas with the white, looking at my reference photo. So it does help to have a reference. So I'm gonna accent this a little bit more, making it like a veining, but not quite yet. Similar to when you made a knot in our wood grain. I'm kind of doing some veining right now, but I have a better method later on I'll show you with a different tool than a paintbrush. Lightly kind of making those marks and making some of them less faded. Do this top corner. Next, I'm still going to use my lightest color, my white, and if you have a sponge like this one, this works the best for what we're gonna do next. If not, you can try to do the dry brush type thing with a frayed paintbrush. So I'm gonna get some paint on my sponge, and I'm kind of mixing both the tan and the white because they're next to each other. You don't want it super globby like that, so you're gonna have to tap it off on a paper towel or something. You want it to be sort of like the dry brush where it's a lighter dots of paint. And then we're just gonna go like this. And you're twisting as you go. So you're twisting to make it not so uniform when you're placing it down. A little heavy on this side, so I'll have to fix that a little bit. So I got my sponge damp, and I'm gonna kind of fix and spread out some of this. You want it to look closer to what I have on this side of mine. I went a little crazy over here, so you don't want this much. You want it closer to how this side is right here. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this side on mine, and then we'll move on. And in case you're wanting more of an explanation of how I fixed it, I basically just did the first step over again, took some dark gray and the white and scumbled in to cover the spots, and then I didn't even really wait for it to dry much before I took my sponge again and went back in and did the dabbing of the white. So you can fix your mistakes, it just will take more paint as you learn and get it to how you want it to be. So obviously we've already done some of the thicker veining in spots, and you could get a smaller paintbrush and do even thinner ones with that if you wanted to, or the tool I learned that was useful for actual veining is a feather. So I have just a craft pack of feathers that you can use. You'll get paint on the edge and then you'll use it just drawing it across like this, and it's okay if it wobbles because you want it to have, like, you can flick it so it's not as straight and you don't have to try to mimic that inconsistency of the line on the marble. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some paint on my feather and show you what I mean, and then you can tilt it and tilt it the other way. All the way down. So get some more white, maybe get some tan mixed in there. I'm actually going to do some black too. And definitely still look at your reference photo if you looked up what color you wanted your marble to be. I think I actually went a little too crazy in some areas, so I'm gonna do a touch-up again. Doing faux finishes is definitely a lot of trial and error. I haven't done marble very often. I did wood grain a ton more when I was painting for scenic theater. So I have wood grain down pat and not so much a lot of marble. But like I said earlier, it's a matter of just, you have to use more paint if you need to touch something up if you don't get it right the first time. And obviously all of these, because I'm taking them from scenic theater, they're gonna look better farther away than close up. Because when you're at a live theater performance, the audience is way farther back. And one final thing I'll note before we let it dry, you want your veining to go to meet sort of in the same direction, almost like it's a river coming from a lake, like they're actual streams. You want it to go in a certain direction. And if you're doing like square by square, like if you're doing a floor, or faking a marble floor, imagine half of this would be a square. You could have them, like I could have had that going this direction, and then because they're separate slabs of marble, you can have them going in different directions than the other one. But those are all the steps for marble. And the final step would be to seal it, and depending on what you are painting on will depend what sealer you're gonna use, like if you're using a wood sealer. But for me, I'm just gonna use Mod Podge. So this is my final marble and wood. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like if it helped you out, especially because that will let YouTube know that this is a good video for people to click on and learn from. And if you like art videos, please subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for following along and watching this video.